We stride into a brave new era on the black and gold, and whilst this is the dawning of the age of the limitless, there is one other person on this show that you shouldn't forget about. This is NXT Graded. We start with Keithy Two Belts. Keith Lee is out. He thanks his trainer, Tim Brooks. He thanks the NXT universe for singing about him. You're welcome, Keith. And he wants to bring out his frenemy, Dominik Dijakovic. Out comes Dom, the Monstars united in the ring, and Keith Lee says to Dominik Dijakovic that nobody tested him like he did. So therefore, he wants to be the first opponent he faces with the belts on the line. So he throws down the challenge to Dominik Dijakovic for a North American and NXT Championship match tonight. And Dijakovic says yes. A- to start us off. Keith is just sublime on the microphone. He is just a touch of class. I like how this is how we begin the era of Keith. The idea that Keith Lee is not going to wait for people to come to him. He's actually going to go, come on, I want a match with you. And Dijakovic, I love Dijakovic, wearing the Shad t-shirt as well. I thought that was a lovely touch. This is a nice way to start the show. Excellent work by all parties. Our first in-ring action is Cameron Grimes versus Damian Priest. Grimes tries to get the jump on Priest, but Priest basically kicks his head off to get us underway. These guys exchanging heavy strikes throughout this one, but we see Priest take the lead following a razor's edge onto the apron. It's the hardest part of the planet. The fight takes it into the ring, and we see Cameron Grimes start to make a comeback. Priest rallies back once again. We see a beautiful spinning crossbody from Grimes for a near fall. Grimes also goes for the cave-in whilst Priest is against the ropes. Priest moves out of the way, and with his back to Priest, here Cameron Grimes absorbs a cyclone kick and then gets hit with the reckoning for the 1, 2, 3. A B+ to get us started tonight. Really like the chemistry that these two brought in this one. It wasn't a massively long match. It was very good though for the time that it was on. Damian Priest afterwards setting his sights on the double champ, whoever that might be, by the end of the night. Cameron Grimes, I don't think loses anything from losing. Still a big upside with Grimes in NXT. Big tank energy from Shotzi Blackheart. She is taking on the impressive Indi Hartwell in this one. And whilst the match is in progress, we have the commentators talking about Shotzi running over Robert Stone with her tank. Tom Phillips comparing it to the barbershop window, which is a nice little nod back to the old Marty Jannetty Shawn Michaels skit from way back in the day. It feels wrong to call it a skit, but either way. We see Hartwell get a fair bit in this match. In fact, the tide turns in the favour of Hartwell when Shotzi misses a cannonball into the corner. But Hartwell, her offense doesn't last forever. Eventually, Shotzi comes back, hits that cannonball, and this brings out Robert Stone, who's distracting the referee. Shotzi's on the top rope, going for something, but then there's Aaliyah, who knocks her off the top rope. We see a big boot from Indi Hartwell, and the 1, 2, 3. Hartwell with the shock victory over Shotzi in this one. C+ for me. This was good. There wasn't much to this match. There was some storyline developments after it. It was fine. Wasn't terrible. It was fine. It was good. Nearly B- territory for all the other stuff that was going on there, but I'm going to stick it at a C+ for now. I feel like we've got some good stuff to come from Shotzi Blackheart and the Robert Stone brand. We have a meeting of Legado del Fantasma over drinks. They talk about the Chihuahua, Drake Maverick, who kept his job after he cried on YouTube. And they talk about how Breezango were disrespectful of Lucha Libre history. We then kind of get, in this bit, we finally put a bit of meat on the bone for all three members of the group. Like, we get a bit about Raul Mendoza, how he's called the technical assassin, and Whacking Wild, where if he's flying at you, you're done for. And then, of course, Santos Escobar, the guy who is leading the cruiserweight division that needs direction, and how they have to knock everything down to build it back up. This was a really cool segment. I'm liking the Legado del Fantasma stuff. I like how the idea of it is that it is lucha tradition, but it's not masks and wild flips as has been sort of the stereotype of that. This is going to be something a little bit cooler and a little bit edgier. At least that's what they're telling us. No, I think masks and flips are cool, just want to put that out there, but this is the story that they're telling here, and I like it. Less than 20 minutes since the match was set up, it is time for the double belt match. Keith Lee, the NXT North American and NXT champion, I'm never going to get bored of saying that, faces his frenemy Dominik Dijakovic. A test of strength to start. This is quite a slow building match. It's sort of very heavy offense that moves not at the fastest pace these guys have gone. A big part of this match is a slow build to when it gets kicked into high gear following a slap to the chest from Dijakovic to Keith, who follows it up with the old Grizzly Magnum, the old double slaps. A few times in this match we see Dominik sort of nearly take out Keith Lee, and there's a lot of friendly rivalry in this one. A lot of, oh, I nearly got you type stuff. He nearly does get in with a cyclone boot and a blockbuster, near falls off of those. Dominik comes off the top rope for the finish, eats another boom Grizzly Magnum slap down, a one-arm slam from Keith Lee, and the big bang catastrophe that Dominik tries to fight out of, but ends up eating it anyway. Nice little touch from Keith at the end, where as he's got him pinned, as it gets to 2, you see Keith sort of tighten the pin a little bit more, just to be sure. That was a nice bit. After the match, they hug, they're frenemies after all. Then the lights go out, and here comes Scarlett, and she walks towards the ring, and she places on the ring the remains of the hourglass that Keith Lee destroyed. Then makes her way back up the ramp. Tick-tock indeed. This was a B for me. Now, it was good. It was strong. Like 2 beastie boys just battering one another. But it wasn't their best outing, in my opinion. It's weird how having both belts on the line felt like less jeopardy than previous matches. It didn't feel like there was that kind of tension there. It kind of felt like an exhibition match. And I was kind of hoping that when they get back together, it would be with a little bit more meat to it. But what they did was good. I don't want to discount it. It was still a very good match. But Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic have set the bar so high that, you know, I'm going to compare it to other encounters. And even this being a B feels like I'm doing them a disservice. But it's what it was. Dom is backstage giving Keith all the love, says that, hey, carrying Cross might be good, but whoa, that's a new Keith Lee out there. He's excellent now. Cross interrupts him, gets in the face of Dijakovic, and these two start brawling. Cross suplexes Dijakovic onto the floor and wipes him out cold. Cross walks off saying tick-tock, tick-tock. We're getting Keith versus Cross. I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm intrigued. We have a trip to Thatcher's Thatch Can Academy now as the teacher, one Timothy Thatcher, faces Denzel Dejournette. We had a segment earlier on with Thatcher stretching some of his students, and we are now seeing him about to stretch Dejournette. Big love to Dejournette, who brought the amateur wrestling style to this match. This was a very ground-based affair. This wasn't just a short battering for Thatcher. Dejournette got a lot in, and I like the combination of that ground-based amateur style versus Thatcher's sort of gritty wrestling stretching style. Despite Dejournette's best efforts, and he gets a lot of licks in on this one, the match belongs to Thatcher, who locks in that half crab and gets the tap out. After the match, he reapplies it again because he can, and here comes Only Lorcan to run off Timothy Thatcher. I'm giving this a B-. Thought I didn't expect what I got from this, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm more intrigued to see Lorcan versus Thatcher go at it again. Maybe our second fight pit match. Too soon for a second one? Let me know in the comments. We see Robert Stone apologising to Killian Dane for spilling coffee on him last week. This is exactly how Chris Jericho and Kane got feuding, almost 20 years to the date. Nicely done. Dane is not happy with Robert Stone. Then Aaliyah turns up with a caricature that Dexter Loomis drew, which features Robert Stone being run over by Shotzi's tank. It's very good. This leads Killian Dane to demand that Robert Stone sort him out a match against Dexter Loomis. And that is happening next week. Okay. Not quite sure how one led to the other, but there we go. This may end up actually being Killian Dane joining the Robert Stone brand. Kind of like the idea of having Killian Dane in a nice suit and tie with his beard in a bun and a top bun to match it. That'd be a look, wouldn't it? It is main event o'clock. We announced this last week. It is the NXT Women's Championship on the line. Io Shirai versus the Welsh Valley's own Tegan Nox. So this match, we're going to get the intros for this match. Tegan Nox puts out a handshake for Io Shirai, and Shirai slaps the hand away. And they just forego the introductions and get underway. Techers to get us started, a lot of close quarters, and the majority of the early part of this match is just Io Shirai outclassing Tegan Nox. Nox tries to fire up a couple of times to get back into this one, but Shirai just keeps shutting her down. Gets to a point where Shirai is pie-facing Tegan Nox, and this just enrages Tegan as she starts getting back into this match with uppercuts. There's a great bit where she turns a crossbody from Shirai into a fall-away slam with a pin. That was nice. Throughout the match, we see Io Shirai clicking up the gears on the wickedness. She's certainly becoming more heelish as the match is wearing on. Just little things, nothing over the top. It's just like standing on Tegan Nox's hand a couple of times, and there's a bit where she was sort of sat on her and trying to strangle her with her legs. Little things like that she keeps doing that just adds a little bit of heelish meat to the bone. Nox keeps on keeping on throughout this though, getting some quick roll-ups for near falls. It falls to the outside at one point, and we see Shirai throw Nox into the steel steps, but miss on the bullet train attack into the steps. This is Nox's opening to start to get back into this match a little bit. Big clotheslines, a cannonball, crossbody off the top, and the old Lady Kane special chokeslam gets a near fall for Tegan Nox. Shirai fires back with a German suplex that bounces Tegan into the corner, followed by the bullet train attack and the drop kick. Only a 2 once again. The end comes when Nox rallies once more. She goes for a Molly go round off the top, gets a 2 count off it, quickly turns it around to go into a shiniest wizard, but then gets hit with the Shote on the approach and eats a moonsault for the 1, 2, 3. At the end of the match, we see Io Shirai standing on top of the ramp holding up her belt, and she gets hoofed in the face by a boot belonging to Dakota Kai. And that, mere seconds later, is where we go off the air. I am giving the main event an A-. This was a really strong outing for both. I wasn't sure how Tegan Nox was going to do in this big environment. Like, Tegan Nox is great, I'm a big fan, but I feel like there's almost like a missing intensity with Tegan, for me personally, but it certainly came through here. This is the best outing she has had on NXT, in my opinion. And Shirai here, just adapting her role to become a bit more of the bad guy, which obviously boosts the signal of Tegan Nox. They work really well together, and it was a nice combo. It's an A-, solid main event. Best match of the night. And this is a show with a Keith Lee title match on. This was the best match of the night. Don't you dare call me biased. Giving NXT this week a B. Up against AEW Fight for the Fallen, this was still a really good show. First defense of Keith Lee, strong women's championship match in the main, lots of stories building in and around that, and of course, standout performance by Tegan Nox tonight, doing the Welsh Valleys proud. Lots to look forward to going forward with NXT. Stay safe, Yakida.